Well, hey, Marianne. Hey, Ryan. How you doing?
Hey Russell, we're good. How are
Doing
you?
great. Hi.
I'm good. I'm good. And I want to welcome everybody who's watching this workshop on year-end giving. It's hosted by Tailored Fundraising in collaboration with Partner Essentials. And my name is Russell. I'm the CEO and founder of Tailored. And joining me in presenting today is one of our coaches, Marianne, and also Ryan from Partner Essentials. So we're excited to be with you, and we're looking forward to the next 45 minutes or so where we're going to talk about how to create and implement your year-end strategy. So we're going to look at why it's important to do a year-end appeal, how to identify an area of impact, how to set a financial goal, how to create a layered strategy, how to create a plan and timeline, and actually how to use Partner Essentials to manage your year-end campaign. So with that being said, let's jump right in. The fourth quarter is a big time for people to give, as you know, and here are some quick stats from a blog post by Neon One. 1/4 of annual nonprofit revenue is in December. Nonprofits raise 17 to 31% of online revenue in December. In 2022, Giving Tuesday raised $3.1 billion in the US alone. 10% of giving happens in the last 3 days of the year. 81.1% of affluent households give annually. Monthly giving increased by 11% in 2022 over 2021. And 76% of people who volunteer for a nonprofit also donate. Then 97% of ministry partners cite the impact of their gift as a major decision factor.
Yeah, so we're going to identify impact. When starting a plan for your year-end appeal, there are 4 components. The first component is to identify the impact of your year-end appeal. Contrary to what one might think, the primary goal of your year-end appeal is not to raise funds, but rather the primary goal is to accomplish something together with your partners that will impact someone's life. That is so important. It is not about the number. It is about what we can do together. You need to be appealing for something specific that you can commit to accomplish. How will raising these funds affect someone's life other than yours? Often when you find yourself in a difficult financial situation, you ask the question, how much money do I need? The question should be, how much money is needed to impact someone's life? Ideally, this is something that you've already committed to do. So when identifying the impact of the appeal, you want to ask yourself 2 questions. So impact question number 1, what program, event, or resource do you provide or are planning to provide that could use additional funding? So I'm going to give you an example. A weekly English club for refugees centered around the Bible. Another example might be providing food, clothing, and shelter for someone who has experienced a natural disaster. It could be offering basic medical care, renting an office for an evangelistic event, or counseling. Another one would be holding a training and providing resources for church leaders. You've come up with the program or resources. Now ask. Impact question number 2. What difference will this make in someone's life? So we talked about the English club, refugees feeling empowered and not alone, coming to Christ through Bible study and interaction with other believers. This is an impact that this center could have. Disaster relief. Families can stay in their community, feel loved and cared for, and experience Christ through his church. Training church leaders. Local churches are growing and leadership often needs help becoming more effective for the transformation of their congregations and communities. And if you're having a hard time thinking of a specific impact, try this exercise. So assume you're successful in your fundraising, and by December 31st, you have raised everything that you need. Now tell people how that made a difference and what you did with it. Start there and let that generate the impact you focus on in your appeal. And again, think, if I have all the money I need, what would I be telling them about the results? So on that note, you might be tempted to focus your year-end campaign on getting out of a deficit. And many ministries are running a deficit at the end of the year, and it hurts. And it does need a solution. But even if your year-end campaign will help you get out of the deficit, getting out of the deficit can't be the impact for the appeal. So you need to go further and ask, how would this ministry, being adequately funded, make an impact in someone's life? And then use that impact for the year-end appeal. Again, it is what we can accomplish together.
Yeah, Marianne, and impact is so important that I don't know if you remember at Tailored, we say funding flows most freely when it's the only thing holding you back from impact, right? And so it's just so important to get this right. And it's actually the most exciting thing about fundraising, right? The impact that we can make together and really joining God in what he's doing. So I love identifying this. It's inspirational for the missionary, it's inspirational for us when we're coaching, and it's definitely inspirational for the ministry partner, the financial partner. So it really is the critical foundational piece for a year-end appeal, for sure. The second component is to set the financial goal. So it needs to be directly related to your impact, and your goals need to include the total cost of impact. Don't just think about the direct costs of a program or initiative. Make sure to do the work and include the overhead costs of transportation, food, stationery, and even time compensation, which is often overlooked. And a lot of times it's your most significant expense. So when setting a financial goal, you should land on something achievable, be intentional, and think about your partner base and their capacity. So why is it important to consider capacity? It's because it varies from partner to partner, and you don't want to set a goal that exceeds what your list can give unless you have a specific plan to reach new people outside of your current list. So from our experience in coaching thousands of missionaries, one thing that we've learned is not to let the economic information you hear in the news deter you from asking. And that's so important right now as we're recording this workshop. Inflation is up. Interest rates on homes has skyrocketed. But we know that God is in control. And we've seen God move people to give in astoundingly generous ways, even through an economy. And remember, God's economy runs differently than the world's. You also want to consider generosity. So if you have people who are generous, you want to challenge them to something generous, but again, achievable. One of the biggest benefits of a year-end appeal is accomplishing something together, right? You're creating a moment where everyone comes together and achieves something. And this is an opportunity even for people who give regularly throughout the year to give above and beyond. Don't ever exclude someone from a year-end appeal because they've already given that year. This appeal goes to everyone. And Partner Essentials is going to be a great help when you track your appeal. So Ryan, could you quickly show us how to create a campaign in Partnership Essentials and set a goal?
Sure, Russell, I'd love to. So this is Partnership Essentials, and you can create appeals. As Russell and Marianne have been sharing with us, you simply go to the appeal tool and you can add an appeal. You can call it year-end need, whatever you'd like to, and you can set that initial goal. As Russell Marianne talked about, sometimes there's cost in addition, as well as to what it's going to cost. You need to raise the money. Maybe there's a fee with your organization. So you can set all of those numbers in here and have that go into the total amount you need raised. And then you can go in and different statuses for your partners, your contacts, people perhaps who give on a special basis, one-time donors. You could set those and you can create the appeal. But let's look at one that's already been made. So ministry expansion. You can see the total goal up there, about $5,700. That's again taking into account fees and materials that are needed to do it. There's even a nice thermometer bar that tells you where you're at, shows you how much further you need to go. And then all of your contacts that are in your database here in Partner Essentials, you can set some of them to not be asked. And even the ones that you have asked, you can see how many have committed, how many people have given already. It's a great place to look, you and your coach. If there's someone you forgot, you could go and add the contact, add someone in. So you could look for whoever. If you didn't find them, or if you misspelled the name, whatever, it's all good. You just type again, and let's say Calvary, let's say one of these churches is the one that you want to add. You can add them to that campaign, that appeal, and you're off.
Marianne, I don't know about you, but I love to be organized when I fundraise. And I know you're a missionary and you currently fundraise, but when I was fundraising, I didn't have something like this. And it would have been so helpful to see progress, to set a campaign, all of that, keep it one place. So I'm pretty excited that we have Partnership Essentials. Yeah. So I don't know how you feel about organization in a database or a partnership tool like this, but I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's super, super helpful. And I'm not as organized as I should be, but this would definitely be helpful in that process. So we want to talk about the third component. The third component is to create a layered strategy. So one touch is not enough. 59% of nonprofits make between 1 to 3 partner touches for their year-end campaign. And I want to talk about what a 3-touch strategy could be. Warm up. Thank them and remind them of what the ministry does and what we've accomplished together so far. It's so important to warm up first and to thank them, show gratitude. The next one is a strong ask. Be very specific about the goal and impact with a solid ask amount. In our experience, we have found that having a specific ask amount is effective, and it makes it easier for people to see exactly how they can help and what the ministry needs. Everybody's ask is nobody's ask. Reminder, briefly highlight some of the language from the ask. So the goal and the impact, which will remind them to give now. You want to remind them. They are very busy people. Remember that a large part of giving happens in the last 3 days of the year. Consider that when creating your strategy. It may even be a 4th touch point. Let's dig into the strong ask a little bit more. If you want to get even more specific in this ask, we highly recommend segmenting your list. Segment based on capacity, and there are typically 3 groups to segment people into. The first one is your highest capacity ministry partners, or your anchor partners. These are the people that you need to write a personalized letter to and make a follow-up call. For the average person, anyone who can give a gift of $500 or more at one time could be considered an anchor partner. If you have a higher capacity network, then you might set that mark at $1,000. Often people think of anchor partners as giving once a year, but it could be people who have already given, and even people who are giving monthly. You might be thinking they already gave so that they won't give again, but the opposite is actually true. People who have already given are more likely to give again because they want to see the ministry continue and succeed. They believe in it, and it speaks to their heart. Givers give. It's up to you who an anchor partner is, but it's important to identify who these people could be and to approach them personally in some way. So if you want to see even more success, you can do a one-on-one ask with anchor partners, whether it be in person or over the phone or via video chat. It is personal and worth the investment of time. And we've also found that a matching gift works really well for year-end appeal. So consider asking one or more of your anchor partners if they'd be willing to provide a matching gift for the campaign. It can be motivating for people to know that their $100 can turn into $200 because of a matching gift.
You know, Marianne, I've been thinking, so a lot of people think, like we said, or like you said, asking somebody to give again seems inappropriate, but it actually can strengthen that relationship because you continue to work together. And sometimes, I don't know if you've experienced this, somebody who has resources that's already given, and they find out that you're raising funds for something specific and that you didn't ask them, they might even say, like, why didn't they ask me? I mean, you know, they might even feel left out even. I don't know what your experience is, Marianne.
Oh, yeah, I've had that exact experience where people actually do want to give. People that are invested in your ministry, they do want to see it succeed. And so they want to actually partner more financially. And yes, definitely don't think that you're going to offend somebody because you're asking them again. People are honored. I have often had that experience where people are honored. They're like, thank you so much for asking me. So yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
So another level to add can be a mid-level ministry partners. Again, what that means exactly is going to be different for each of you, but it's usually somewhere between a $100 and a $500 gift. A lot of people are more comfortable giving ranges as an option, but in our experience, you're better off asking for a gift of $250 than you are asking people to pick their own amount between $100 and $500. So don't make someone guess at what is helpful. Pick an amount. We highly recommend that you spend some time with the Lord in prayer when doing this, asking for wisdom and boldness for yourself and to stir their hearts and continue to align their hearts with the mission. And the final level is everyone else you know. So whether they're on your general mailing list or in your social media contacts, they might just be a contact in your phone, whether they've given in the past or not, doesn't matter. It is a great way to give them an opportunity to be involved. You never know where people are at in their life. This group does not need to be a personalized letter, though if you have a system that does that automatically, go for it. But you still do want to have a specific ask with this group. Also, something to consider, current givers and volunteers are the most likely to respond because they're already involved. In fact, volunteers are twice as likely to give that than non-volunteers. So don't assume that a volunteer is already giving their time, so I can't ask them for money. They're there because they believe in the mission. Give them other ways to be involved.
Marianne, you know, something else, sorry to interrupt. Something else is I find, and a lot of organizations find, that a year-end appeal is a great way to onboard new givers, right? Because it's something really specific. It's usually tangible. It's an easy entry. And we know just of note that when you call and thank somebody within 48 hours of their first gift, that their next gift is likely to be 50% more than their first. So use this opportunity and don't think small, think broad in this particular campaign. People that you have maybe not a direct relationship with, maybe it's social media contacts or all kinds of other things, because it's a fantastic way to onboard new givers. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're in the system then, right? So
Right.
Even if they give one small gift, then because they're in the system, next year you can ask them for another gift or ask them to become a monthly partner at that point. So you never know. Just it's great for that. So finally, we do recommend setting the financial goal after you've segmented your list and contacted your anchor and your mid-level ministry partners, especially if you are doing a matching campaign, so you have a better idea of what is possible from the rest of your list. And to stay organized, I would recommend segmenting your contacts in partner essentials. Ryan, can you show us how to do that?
Absolutely. So yeah, back in Partner Essentials, you can go to the contacts area and you'll see in this demo account, we have 30 different people that we've been in touch with and thought of and added. Sometimes people give anonymously, but whoever the contacts are, whoever you put in there, you can have different statuses for people. So people you want to cultivate a relationship with or ask in the future. Here, let's look at people who are already monthly ongoing financial partners. You can reset the filter and look at another group. Earlier, we talked about people who gave on a special basis, once in a while partners who have given. You could include on your appeal, but you can look at any kind of grouping that you'd like of all of the contacts that are in your database, whether they're already financial partners, whether they're prayer partners, or again, people who you want to develop that relationship with. There's also tags. There's a number of things that you can add to all of your different partners to keep track of who they are, what you want to remember about them, or even task. You know, many of us need to send out thank you notes and thank you cards. And so you could do a quick look and see who are all the people that you need to thank. There's so many ways in Partner Essentials to really work through and think through and pray through who the people are that you're trying to build relationships with and be in partnership of ministry. Here's another one. You could set a tag for all the people in Metro New York. If you were headed that way, you could reach out to them, let them know, and try to get together with them.
That is so cool, Ryan. So cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. I just want to say a quick note about non-cash assets, just because it's not something you think about And many people don't think about donating stocks at the end of the year, or at least many missionaries don't. People do. There's also capital gains taxes that can be avoided when you donate a stock directly. After you turn 70 years old, the government requires a mandatory distribution of your IRA. And this can be donated to avoid some taxes. So remind your retired ministry partners of this. You'll want to check with your ministry to see if they have a way to accept stocks as a gift. And this is different than somebody selling a stock and then giving you their profit. They're paying taxes when they sell that stock. So what you're asking them to do is gift the stock to the organization to be put into your account if you're a missionary. It's just amazing thing for somebody who wants to gift something that would be highly taxed, right? So check with your ministry to see if they have a way to accept stocks as gift, and they most likely do. And you're going to need some information if they want to make a donation of stock. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go through the list of things you need, but you can either ask the finance department at your organization, or you can send us a note through the contact form on our website. Happy to give that to you. As far as your year-end campaign, you might consider sending an additional email after the first one, maybe with the subject line, "I forgot to mention." And then potentially in the body of the email, you might say that you can avoid capital gains taxes by donating stocks directly to the ministry. It's a very smart way to give, to invest in spreading the gospel. If that is something you're interested in, please let me know, and I'll send you more specific information on how to do that. And if you decide to give through stocks, if you don't mind, let me know so we can make sure it gets allocated properly. When somebody gives a stock, a name is not attached to it because they're doing it through some type of investment firm. So it's very important that the person donating the stock tells you that they're donating it. Otherwise, you're going to be guessing at who did that, right? And it also says a smart way to invest. I found, and I don't know if you've experienced this, Marianne, I found that financial partners, they especially if they're invested in stocks, they're very savvy with what they're giving, and they do want smart ways to give. And we want to help them be good stewards of what God has given them, just like we want to be good stewards. So I think it's important to share that this is a very smart way and responsible way to give.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and you might want to add a handwritten PS to a letter or something. I mean, I think that could be really effective too when you're talking about non-cash assets and stocks and things like that. But okay, moving on. Another part of creating a layered strategy is to think through what channels you will use to communicate your year-end appeal. So let's start with direct mail. Believe it or not, direct mail, physical mail, is the most popular mode of communication for year-end appeals. Anytime you can create a personal touch, though, take the time to do it. You might write a personal note at the bottom of some of the mid-level partner letters, or consider handwriting the addresses and choosing a colored envelope to make it stand out. Honestly, the more unique and personal it is, the greater chance it will be open. And, I think one of the reasons direct mail is so still so popular is because that's what people expect. That's how they do their year-end giving, or that's how they find out about their year-end giving opportunities. If you really want to make a big difference in like a response, you might try a service that will actually handwrite a letter or postcard for you. There's a service called handwrite.io, and there are others that do this, but it would be a small investment compared to the return you would get. And it's potential you could do a handwritten letter for a significant portion of the people you're inviting to give, or a handwritten postcard as a second touch or something like that. The next is email, and there are many email services like MailChimp, Constant Contact, that allow you to set up a series of emails that will automatically send at a time you set up, right? And we highly recommend looking into options for this, as it can really free you up and free you up from having to do it manually every time. And instead, you can just get all of it lined up and really let it go. A big plus of these services is that you can set it up where the service will personalize the email for you automatically, just mail merging your contact list. And it gives a somewhat personal touch without the extra legwork. I would suggest using plain text so it doesn't look like a mass email. So absolutely no design is what I mean by plain text. I think you're going to get a better response from that. Also, you use only 1 or 2 links, so it's less likely to go to spam. Also, when you use plain text, it's less likely to go to spam. Something I really love about these services also is you can see open rates, click rates, opens, people who didn't open, people who clicked, all of that. So you can do specific follow-ups to people who clicked on a giving form and didn't give, those types of things. Next is phone calls. Follow-up phone calls can be very effective at getting people to respond to your year-end appeal. It can be overwhelming to have a large list of people to call. So you can use apps like Slide Dial, Slide Broadcast, and What Call that will allow your call to go straight to voicemail, and it saves you lots of time and potentially anxiety. I remember when I first started fundraising as a missionary, I would literally pace the room before I made a phone call just to psych myself up. Slide Dial and Slide Broadcast are helpful if you have an iPhone in the US. What Call is helpful for leaving messages from overseas. What Call in particular costs $4.99 for 40 calls. So it's really small investment for a really great return. Slide Broadcast is really interesting because you can make one message and send it out to a lot of people at the same time. So you're not individually dialing the numbers. So if you're going to make a lot of calls, you should write out a script. It might be something like, "Hey, Sarah, I hope you got my last email. We want to raise $10,000 to provide scholarships and school supplies to children in need. And if you'd like to make a difference in a child's life, I would just invite you to click the link in the email to give. And I just want to thank you for your consideration." You can also text the same thing with the link, right? It will be helpful for you to create tasks for potential partners and log interactions. So when you're executing a campaign, there are a lot of moving parts. And I know that Partnership Essentials, something like that, can help make sure you stay organized. So Ryan, can you show us how to create tasks and log interactions?
Sure thing, Russell. So yeah, back in Partner Essentials, there's lots of ways to create tasks. You can click the little plus button at the top. You can go up to the task area itself. Or again, you could start with contacts. Who are the people you have in mind to create these tasks with? Go to the status, and again, look for a particular thing. One category is cultivate a relationship. So let's say Robert Chen has been on your mind and you'd like to cultivate that relationship with him before you add a donation from Robert. So you're going to go to task there, add a task. Again, lots of ways of doing it. And what do we as missionaries often like to do? Well, we're going to get together and meet over coffee. So you can meet with Robert over coffee and invite him to partner with you in ministry, to be able to share with them what God's laid on your heart, and invite him to be a part of that. So maybe you're going to call Robert. You're going to try to set up that time. You can pick a date. You can pick a time. You can go ahead and save that task. And now it's been created. So you see that under Robert when you're looking at him as a contact. Or you can go back to the task area of Partner Essentials, and you can see tasks that are overdue, tasks that you have currently, or the one that we just created with Robert. And so you could click on it, you could update it, or you could look at any of the other tasks that you have to do. So let's take Doug and Lane Hunter, for example. So we want to thank them for the gift that they gave recently. And you could go in and you could update that task and complete it. But another great tool is that you can actually make comments. So you can go ahead and add a specific comment for something specific regarding that task. You could say that you thank them by letter. You could say you thank them over a phone call or a text, whatever have you. You go ahead and add that comment, and it's super helpful, months and even years down the road to be able to go back and see how you've engaged all of your partners. We're in the current area of task. So let's look quickly at historic and see the one that we just completed, Doug and Laura. Another one that's super excited to see from Calvary Church there is when we met with a mission pastor, he actually encouraged us, said, reach out if you ever have a financial need. lots of ways to update, create tasks to help you engage your partners well.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Stay organized. When you're executing a plan of any kind, staying organized is really important. But man, it just takes a lot of stress out, right? And even like sometimes maybe the missionaries I'd work with, I would say, just create a plan just to fundraise 2 days a week. And then the other 5 days of the week, you're not feeling guilty for not fundraising, right? But if you don't have a plan, then you're feeling guilty every day for not doing enough, right? So creating this plan in something like Partner Essentials is just really key. So our fourth channel is social media, and we recommend using social media as a supplement to your direct mail or email strategy, not as your sole channel of fundraising. I think especially for missionaries, even organizations that use social media effectively to raise funds typically do so because of the investment they've made in establishing relationships outside of social media, or they have a number of followers in the tens of thousands at least. Or this is probably the most popular, the biggest reason people get through social media is they have an acute need that could even possibly go viral. So if you're going to use social media for fundraising, it's best used when you have a very specific, highly urgent need that's not a deficit, that can be communicated through a brief story. Something along the lines of, this is an example, but a family who lost their home, a village that ran out of medical supplies, an orphanage running out of food. These are time sensitive. They're very urgent. The consequences are great. So that's really, I think, where social media can be effective. As a missionary, you may have something that acute, right? So by all means, social media could be a great platform to do that. And link to the actual giving page, not a page where they have to click through to find the giving page. We want to give them as few steps as possible, lower as many obstacles as possible. As a rule of thumb, if you're asking digitally, like through email or social media, give a digital way to respond or link. And if you're asking in a physical mailing piece, give a physical way to respond. You can add the other options as well, but make sure you at least have the option that matches the channel that you asked through. Don't mail someone a letter and ask them to type a link into their computer or their phone. Give them a pledge card and envelope to return their gift, as well as instructions on how to do it online. And if you provide a pre-stamped return envelope, studies show that you have up to a 31% higher chance of a partner returning with a gift. You can even include a QR code with your giving page embedded for those who might give mobily. This sounds kind of crazy, but it makes sense that a branded donation form can help raise up to 7 times more. And I think it's because it feels more legit. People feel more comfortable sharing information that they are sure is going to the right place. So make sure your hard copy and online forms look their best, really, to boost engagement. And one of the cool things about Partner Essentials is that it integrates with some of the tools that you're already going to use. And so, Ryan, show us how that works.
Will do. So yeah, we're back in Partner Essentials. And if you go over to the gear, to settings, you'll see all sorts of ways that you can check out what the connected services that you are to have to your account. Let's look at these external services. So Marianne and Russell have talked about physical letters that you can send out. There's 2 integrations currently with Chalkline and Prayer Letters. You can make use of either of those. You'll see the little green indicator next to MailChimp. My wife and I use that regularly to send out newsletters and updates to all of our partners and prayer partners. So you could go ahead and connect that account. It's wonderful to use your contact list. It'll update that each of those contacts received your newsletter. So MailChimp. And then one more to highlight is Google. So if you have a Google account, even if you're an Apple iPhone user or a Droid, you have a Google account, you can connect that. And there's a really easy way to import contacts. So you see the little button there, you connect your account. And earlier in some of these examples we've shown, there were 30 contacts in this account. And now you'll see that there's 31. So again, using that Google account, setting a group or a particular person, we were able to import Bob Robert. It even created a tag showing that he was added from Google. And those are some of the integrations that are already built into Partner Essentials.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that. We want to talk about the fourth component. So the fourth component is to establish a timeline. And when it comes to creating a timeline for preparing and sending the year-end appeal, it's best to work backwards. So you want to start with when you want people to receive your year-end appeal. You might consider hitting people's inboxes or mailboxes on the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and that's known as Giving Tuesday. Remember the stat we gave at the beginning? This day has risen 143% in popularity for giving in less than a decade. So if you're sending emails, what day or time do you want to send it so that people have it when they wake up Tuesday morning? And if you're doing a direct mailer, what day do you need to drop it in the mailbox in order for it to arrive on or before that Tuesday? So you want to think about those things. And how much time do you want to give yourself to segment your list? Write the letter, have it proofread, and that's very important. Please proofread everything that you send out. Gather contact information, address the envelopes. All of these things take so much time. And this is a good time to do this by hand. There's really a good chance that you'll need to begin this whole process at least 4 weeks before the day you want people to receive it, so that your year-end appeal doesn't get lost in the very large pile of other year-end appeals that came before yours.
And can I say, Marianne, that I think like something landing on Giving Tuesday is like the very latest, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can start sending communication in October, maybe not asks, but prep, right? So I just want to make sure that people understand that that's the absolute latest that I would like have something land.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So another date to be mindful of is when you want people to respond. And this will create urgency. And urgency is huge. The most common date is December 31st because it's the end of the fiscal year and it's when people most give. But some of you may have a deadline sooner than that, and that's perfectly fine. It just needs to be clearly communicated. So whatever deadline you have selected for yourself, it just needs to be clearly communicated. And another important date that we recommend scheduling now is when you are going to send thank you notes or make calls to tell people how their giving is making or will make a difference. So even if your impact is something that may not happen until next spring, follow up right away by saying, because of your gift, here is the impact that will happen. And as soon as you get a gift, send a thank you note. A fun little saying that we use here to help you remember is thank before you bank. So you want to say thank you as soon as possible. Whatever date you choose, just make sure it's sooner rather than later. And if a new ministry partners, if they receive a thank you phone call from you within 48 hours, then their second gift is likely to be 50% more than their first gift. I think Russell said that earlier. Having quick gratitude and responding is super important.
Yeah, when and when we talked about like urgency is huge. I know we've actually talked about more than 3 touch points because I think 3 touch points is our minimum here. But using something like Slide Dial or one of those apps to leave voicemails on December 30th and 31st, I think is, I think it's really essential because, and sending those text message afterward, because so many people give the last 3 days of the year, so many people. So I think that's super important.
I do too. And oftentimes people are thankful that you've reminded them. People are so busy. And I've often had people say, oh my goodness, thank you so much for reminding me to do this, because they want to do it generally. And, it's really good to be reminded of that, especially when people are so busy and they've got busy schedules. So when you identify the impact, you need to set a financial goal, create a layered strategy, and establish a timeline. You will be well on your way to having a plan for a successful year-end appeal. So are we doing a promo, Brian?
Yeah, we are.
All
So
right.
if you sign up with Tailored Funding and have a coach, then you can receive Partner Essentials free for 1 year.
That is so cool, Ryan. And I love our partnership. It plays so well together, and I think that's really generous of you guys. So yeah, take advantage of that for sure. Um, I just want to share some results that people have gotten from year-end campaigns when they work with Taylor. Scott says last year your insights helped us more than double our usual year-end results. Thomas says 2 years in a row, employing the advice we received from Tailored specifically related to the ask, the impact, and the 3 steps, those 3 touches, as well as using the last 3 days of the year. Okay, there's that. We were helped to raise $25,000 through year-end campaigns. And another missionary said, through my work with a Tailored coach, I surpassed my $30,000 goal by almost $21,000. By the end of January 2022, I'd received $50,951. And we love to hear that because that means impact is going up. And, honestly, if you want to see results like this for your year-end campaign, or really if you just want to see amazing results in fundraising in general, then I would encourage you to work with a Tailored coach. I want to offer you a free comprehensive fundraising assessment call with one of our coaches. And during that 30-minute call, you're going to look at the health of your partnership development, identify challenges to fundraising, and just discuss how and what steps you need to take to reach your funding goals. And if it's specific around year-end campaign, we'll do that during that call. All you need to do is go to our website and schedule a time with one of our coaches. It's just well worth it to have somebody walk through with you. And I know that on average, people who work with a Tailored coach, they raise 10 times more than what they spend on a coach. So it's a fantastic investment. And we love working with missionaries and being a part of the impact you're having. So, Marianne, Ryan, I just thank you for being a part of this workshop. And for everyone who's watching it, thank you for being a part of it. And we're just glad to be a part of your ministry. So thanks again.